Eli didn't sleep the night before his flight. The journal sat on the table beside his passport, the ticket tucked inside like a trigger waiting to be pulled. Every page of Vivian's writing was still echoing in his head, her confessions, her manipulation, her fear. But above all, that one chilling truth. He let me. Because that's how he wins, by owning the ashes. Thomas Darnell had never been a man to lose control. And Eli was starting to realize that nothing in this game had ever been an accident, not the seduction, not the transfer, and maybe not even the affair. But still, he boarded the plane. Because some games don't end until someone flips the board. He didn't go to the office. Instead, Eli went to the address printed on the return envelope of the journal, a townhouse in Lincoln Park, quiet and gated. He buzzed twice. No answer. He was about to walk away when the door clicked open. Vivian stood in the doorway. No makeup, no heels, just bare feet, black silk robe, and the kind of exhaustion that no sleep could fix. "You came back," she said. "I needed answers." She stepped aside. "Then come inside. But you're not going to like them." They didn't speak for a long time. Not until he sat across from her in a living room that felt more like a museum, expensive, perfect, lifeless. Finally, Eli broke the silence. "You used me." Vivian tilted her head. "I invited you. You came willingly." He nodded. "And Thomas?" "He knew. From the start." She sighed. "He did. Of course he did. He has people for everything. Phones, surveillance, even staff loyalty reports. I was never out of his sight. Neither were you. Then why let it happen? Because I was the only thing he couldn't buy outright. So he let me hang myself, as a lesson. To you, to the board, to everyone watching. That even his wife falls in line eventually. You think you were part of some great love story." Her voice cracked, then hardened. "You were a tool." Eli stood, pacing, fists clenched. "And now what? You dragged me back here for what? Closure?" Vivian looked up, her eyes distant. "No. I brought you back to ask you something." "What?" "Help me destroy him." Vivian wasn't just trying to escape, she wanted to ruin him. Not financially. Thomas had built safeguards no one could untangle. But emotionally. Symbolically. She wanted to torch the image he projected to the world. "I've collected things over the years," she said. "Files. Names. Payments. Half of Darnell and Company is built on paper trails no one's ever dared to read." "And you want me to leak it?" Eli asked. "I want you to be the one holding the match." He hesitated. "Why me?" "Because you still believe in the idea of justice," she said. "And because you're the only person left who's seen what he really is." 2 nights later, Eli returned to the one place he swore he'd never enter again, the top floor of Darnell Tower. Thomas Darnell was waiting. Alone. No lawyers. No guards. Just him, seated behind his desk like a man conducting a chess match that's already been won. "You came back," Thomas said. "You always knew I would." There was a pause. Then Thomas gestured to a chair. "Tell me," he said. "Is this the part where you threaten me? Leak some files? Confess your sins and beg for mercy?" "No," Eli said calmly. "I'm not here for mercy. I'm here for clarity." Thomas folded his hands. "All right then. Ask." Eli stared at him, searching for cracks. "Why did you let it happen?" Thomas smirked. "Because I needed to know how far my wife would go. And how much it would cost me to keep her. And you," he leaned forward, "you were the perfect currency. Disposable. Ambitious. Weak. Then why not destroy me?" "I did. You just haven't realized it yet." Eli left the office without another word. He had what he needed. Not evidence, resolve. The files were real. The names, the off-book accounts, the buried scandals. Vivian had collected them with meticulous precision. Together, they compiled a dossier, encrypted and ready. But Eli didn't leak it to the press. He sent it directly to the board of directors. Anonymous. Clean. Surgical. Within 48 hours, there was chaos inside Darnell and Company. Stock dip, emergency meetings, external audit, and for the first time in 20 years, Thomas Darnell didn't control the narrative. Vivian disappeared. 1 week after the leak, her townhouse was emptied. No for sale sign. No forwarding address. Just silence. Eli never heard from her again. But sometimes, late at night, he wondered if she'd planned that, too, if even her disappearance was part of the script. He stayed in Chicago. Started fresh at another firm. Lower profile. Less risk. But he was never the same. Because he'd learned something most people never do. Some fires don't burn everything to the ground. Some fires just leave you smoldering. 6 months passed. The storm that rocked Darnell and Company eventually settled. Thomas Darnell weathered the scandal, barely. He stepped down voluntarily, keeping his wealth but losing his grip. Publicly, he spun it as a well-earned retirement. Privately, he'd been cut off at the knees by a leak no one could trace. He never mentioned Eli. Never needed to. The board knew. The old wolves whispered. But no one said a word. Because Darnell's fall wasn't about guilt. It was about power. And Eli had learned exactly how to take it. By now, Eli had transformed. Gone was the nervous junior consultant. The man in his place wore tailored suits and silence like armor. He'd landed at a rising firm, fast-growing and aggressive. He worked late, listened more than he spoke, and he learned. He watched how men like Thomas moved. Then he started moving the same way, only smarter. He didn't chase money. He built leverage. He didn't ask for respect. He made himself indispensable. In the shadows, Eli was becoming everything Thomas once was, without the spotlight, without the ego. And he was winning. But one night changed everything. It came in the form of a small black envelope, left at the front desk of his apartment building. No stamp. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. 2 words. Come outside. He hesitated, staring at the message like it might explode. Then he walked out into the cold, moonlit street. There, leaning against a black car, was Vivian. Same eyes. Same smile. But different. Something about her was sharper now, calmer, colder. Like someone who had made peace with the darkness inside her. I heard you did it, she said. You disappeared. I had to. Thomas doesn't lose quietly. Eli studied her. Is this a warning? No, she said. It's an invitation. They drove in silence to an upscale rooftop bar, one of those elite, quiet places where powerful people whispered dangerous things. Vivian laid it out plainly. Thomas is trying to rebuild, she said. Smaller firm. Off the radar. He's recruiting old allies. Men who owe him favors. He wants to come back under a new name. And you care because? Because I'm tired of watching men like him rebuild after they're exposed. Because they don't disappear, Eli. They evolve. And now, you're one of the only people who can stop him. Eli raised an eyebrow. Why me? Because you understand him. You've become him. Only smarter. He shook his head. I'm not interested in revenge. Vivian leaned in, her voice low. Then think of it as surgery. Cut the root, not the branch. You kill the myth of Thomas Darnell for good, or he grows back meaner. Eli didn't give her an answer that night. Instead, he went home and stared at the city from his window. So many lights, so many secrets. He thought of all the men who had shaped him, men who thought power was immunity, not responsibility. Men who hurt people like Vivian, then laughed about it behind boardroom doors. He thought of who he had become. How much of that was him, and how much was Thomas, and he realized something chilling. He wasn't afraid of becoming Thomas anymore. He was afraid of enjoying it. 1 month later, Thomas Darnell sat in a cigar lounge in Boston, surrounded by men in $10,000 suit. His new venture was days away from launch. Silent investors. International contract. Everything carefully buried behind shell companies. Everything was under control. Until the servers went dark. Until the bank accounts froze. Until the investors received an anonymous file dump with enough buried skeletons to crush a dozen careers. Thomas knew who it was. He didn't rage. Didn't panic. He just smiled, slowly, like someone watching a familiar game play out. "Checkmate," he said softly. "Well played,